Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine for a moment someone who could tell you exactly where your departed loved ones ended up after death.
Yeah.
Just by tapping their skull.
Sounds like something straight out of a really compelling fantasy novel, doesn't it?
It really does. Quite an image.
Well, today we're really digging into this ancient story. It's about a Brahmin named Vaṅgīsa from Rajagaha, and he supposedly had precisely this astonishing skill, a unique ability, really, to discern the rebirth realm of the deceased.
Right. Whether it was, hell, an animal, a ghost, human, or even a deva, a divine being.
Exactly, all just from examining their skulls.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how this extraordinary skill, almost supernatural, right? It was initially used for, well, worldly gain.
Yeah.
But it became a gateway to something much, much deeper. So this deep dive, it isn't just about some historical figure. It's really about challenging how we even define knowledge or expertise. And we get to watch this remarkable transformation unfold. Yeah, absolutely. We've distilled insights from texts like the Vaṅgīsattheravatthu, based on the sources you brought us, to try and bring you the full story. Our mission today is to explore Vaṅgīsa's journey, from this skull-tapping psychic to his pretty surprising encounter with the Buddha, and what that whole thing ultimately reveals about real wisdom and, well, the nature of knowing itself.
It's quite a tale.
So, as you can imagine, this skill Vaṅgīsa had, it wasn't just some, party trick.
No, not at all.
Other Brahmins, they saw it pretty quickly as a lucrative business opportunity.
Okay, we can make some money here.
Definitely. So they dressed him up in these two distinctive red robes, and they traveled village to village, basically advertising Vaṅgīsa's unique ability.
Like a traveling roadshow.
Pretty much. That people who were, desperate to know the fate of their relatives.
Understandably.
They'd pay.
Yeah.
Sometimes 10, 20, even 100 kāpainas. These old coins.
Which was probably a significant amount back then.
Oh, yeah. Just to hear what Vaṅgīsa had to say. It was quite the enterprise.
It really highlights a common human tendency, doesn't it? This deep desire we have for certainty about the unknown, especially, death and what happens next.
For sure.
And of course, you see the potential for exploitation when someone claims to have that kind of unique knowledge.
Right. It taps into a very primal fear and maybe curiosity.
Exactly.
Okay, so this highly profitable, if kind of unusual, business was going strong for Vaṅgīsa and his partners, but their travels eventually brought them somewhere. Interesting. To Savatthi.
Near the famous Jetavana monastery.
Right, and they arrive, they set up near the monastery, and they see these crowds heading towards it.
People going to listen to the Buddha.
Yeah, eager to hear his teachings. So naturally, the Brahmins with Vaṅgīsa, they ask, hey, where's everyone going? And the Buddha's followers, they proudly say, we're going to listen to the Dhamma. The truth. And they add, no one is like our teacher.
Ah, okay. So setting up a comparison there.
Oh, absolutely. You can imagine the Brahmins' reaction. They immediately retorted, oh yeah, well, no one is like Vejja.
Right. Pride versus pride.
Totally. And this pretty quickly escalated into a direct challenge.
Yeah.
They decided, okay, let's go to the monastery. We'll compare Vaṅgīsa's knowledge with the Buddha's knowledge.
Bold move. So they essentially called for a showdown.
They really did.
And the Buddha, the texts say he was aware they were coming, aware of this challenge. So he orchestrated this really profound demonstration.
Okay.
He had 5 skulls brought to him, 5 different skulls, one from someone reborn in hell, one from an animal, one from a human, one from a divine being, a deva, and then, crucially, one from an arahant.
An arahant, so a fully enlightened being.
Exactly. Someone completely free from the cycle of rebirth. That's the key one.
Gotcha. So the stage is set. What happens next?
The Buddha asks Vaṅgīsa straight up, can you really tell where the dead have been reborn by tapping their skulls?
And Vaṅgīsa, he must have been feeling pretty confident at this point.
Oh, absolutely. He confirms, yes, I know.
Okay.
And he goes for it. He taps the first skull, correctly identifies the hell realm, taps the second, the animal realm.
Nailing it.
Third, the human realm. Fourth, the divine realm. Each time, the Buddha acknowledges him, praises him. Yes, Vaṅgīsa, that's correct.
Wow. Vaṅgīsa must have been thinking, see? Told you so.
Yeah.
He's proving his point in front of everyone.
He must have felt pretty triumphant. But that's exactly when the Buddha pulls out the curveball.
Ah, the 5th skull, the Arahant skull.
Precisely. The one that would challenge everything.
So what a moment that must have been. The Buddha presents this 5th skull, asks him, whose head is this? Vaṅgīsa taps it, but this time, nothing.
Blank.
He just can't figure it out. He's completely stumped.
All that confidence just evaporated.
Yeah, the great Vaṅgīsa, known for this unique insight, completely at a loss.
You can picture the scene.
The Buddha then gently asks, Vaṅgīsa, don't you know?
And Vaṅgīsa, he has to admit it. No, I don't know.
Wow. Humbled.
Profoundly. And this is really a pivotal moment in the story, isn't it?
It feels like it.
Vaṅgīsa's ability, extraordinary as it was, it hit its limit. It couldn't grasp the state of someone who's completely transcended the cycle of rebirth, gone beyond.
Right. Yeah.
It just powerfully underscores that some truths are simply beyond that kind of, let's call it conventional psychic perception.
Or what we usually think of as knowing.
Exactly. It really makes you question the limits of what we normally consider knowledge or expertise, doesn't it?
It really does. So Vaṅgīsa is stumped. He admits defeat on this one skull. And then the Buddha, who set this whole thing up, just calmly says,
I know.
Whoa, oh, okay. How did Vaṅgīsa react to that?
Astonishment, you have to imagine. Pure shock.
Yeah.
He'd just been shown his limit, and here's the Buddha claiming knowledge beyond it. So Vaṅgīsa, probably driven by that desire for ultimate knowledge, maybe still a bit of that old ambition,
Sure.
he immediately asks, how? How do you know?
And the Buddha's answer is key, right? It sets up the whole rest of the story.
It really does. The Buddha replies, I know by the power of a mantra.
A mantra. Okay, now, Valuja, being a Brahmin, that word probably conjured up images of like a powerful secret chant, right?
Exactly. Some kind of incantation that would grant him maybe even greater powers or perfect knowledge.
So he must have been incredibly eager to get his hands on this mantra.
Desperate, it sounds like. He was driven by this idea that this mantra would make him the greatest in Jambudvipa.
You know, the greatest in all of ancient India.
Right. So he begs the Buddha, please teach it to me.
But there's a condition.
There is. The Buddha states that this mantra, this teaching, it can't be given to someone who isn't ordained, who isn't a monk in his order.
Okay. So Vaṅgīsa has a choice.
He does. And without hesitation, apparently, he sends his old Brahmin companions away, tells them, you guys go on without me.
Wow.
And he ordains right there, becomes a monk under the Buddha.
And from then on, he's known as Vaṅgīsattheravatthu, the elder Vaṅgīsa.
That's right. He's fully committed now to getting this mantra.
But the mantra he gets isn't quite what he expected, is it?
Not at all. And this is where the story takes that brilliant turn. The Buddha doesn't give him some magical chant.
No secret words for power.
Nope. Instead, he gives him a meditation subject, specifically the Vaṅgīsattheravatthu.
Which is?
It's a deep contemplation on the 32 parts of the body. You know, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, and so on.
Okay, so a very grounding, analytical meditation.
Very much so. And the Buddha tells him, essentially, practice this. This is the preliminary work for the mantra.
Ah, so it's presented as a prerequisite, like homework before getting the real prize.
Precisely. A very clever framing.
So Vaṅgīsa thinks he's on the path to this ultimate secret, but he's actually undertaking a serious spiritual discipline.
That's exactly it. Quite the bait and switch, as you said earlier.
Yeah. So how did that go? Did his old friends check up on him?
They did. His former Brahmin companions would occasionally pop by the monastery. They'd ask him, hey, Vaṅgīsa, did you get the mantra yet? You know, have you learned the secret?
Right. Are you the greatest in Jambudvipa now?
Probably. And Vaṅgīsa would just tell him, wait, be patient. I'm still learning. Still doing the preliminary work.
Okay. Keep practicing.
But here's the amazing part. Within just a few days of practicing this contemplation.
Just a few days.
That's what the text suggests. Through this very practice, Vaṅgīsa attained arahantship.
Wow. Full enlightenment.
Yes. He reached the very state represented by that fifth skull he couldn't understand before.
Incredible. So he didn't get the mantra he thought he wanted, but he got something infinitely more profound.
Exactly. He achieved liberation itself.
So what happened when his old companions came back again?
Well, this time Vaṅgīsa declared, friends, I am now unable to go.
Unable to go. What did he mean by that?
He meant he was liberated. He was free, no longer bound by worldly travel or worldly desires or the cycle of rebirth. He couldn't go back to that old life.
Ah, okay. That makes sense in light of his attainment. But did everyone understand it that way?
Apparently not. Some of the other monks overheard this, and maybe they didn't grasp the depth of what he meant. They thought he was perhaps falsely claiming a high spiritual status, making things up.
Oh, dear. So they reported him.
They did. They went to the Buddha and said, essentially, Vaṅgīsa is saying he's unable to go, maybe he's boasting.
And what was the Buddha's response?
The Buddha immediately clarified the situation. He said, no, Vaṅgīsa wasn't making a false claim. He affirmed it, saying, my son, referring to Vaṅgīsa, is now skilled in cessation and relinking.
Cessation and relinking, meaning?
Meaning he understood the ending of the cycle of birth and death, cessation, and how it gets started again, relinking. Profound insight.
So the Buddha recognized his arahantship. He wasn't just perceiving rebirths anymore. He understood the whole mechanism and how to stop it.
Precisely. A fundamental shift in his knowing. And then the Buddha recited these powerful verses, really redefining what a true Brahmin is.
Ah, connecting back to Vaṅgīsa's origins.
Exactly. But giving it a completely new meaning. He said something like, he who knows the passing away and arising of beings in every way.
Okay.
Him I call a Brahmin, unattached, well gone, awakened.
Unattached, well gone, awakened. Not defined by birth.
Not at all. And another verse, whose destiny neither gods, Gandhabas, these celestial beings, nor humans know. Yeah. Him with defilements destroyed, the Arahant I call a Brahmin.
Wow. So the ultimate destiny, the Arahant state, is unknowable in the conventional sense, even by gods.
That's the implication. It's beyond those realms Vaṅgīsa could originally perceive. This definition, it really emphasizes inner purity, right? Liberation from attachment, ultimate understanding. It's far beyond just psychic gifts or family lineage.
It really reframes the whole idea. It makes you ask, well, what truly defines wisdom or knowing for you? Is it external skills or internal transformation?
That's the core question the story leaves us with, I think. True status isn't birth or powers, but something much deeper, much more internal.
Yeah. A radical reevaluation, really.
Completely.
And the sources mention the impact this had on the audience too, right?
Yes, remarkably. At the end of this whole discourse, the explanation by the Buddha, many who were listening attained stream entry or other stages of awakening.
So they realized deep truths for themselves just by hearing this story and the Buddha's explanation.
It seems so. It wasn't just Vaṅgīsa's life that was transformed by this encounter.
Right, Mace.
So if we sort of zoom out, connect this to the bigger picture, Vaṅgīsa's story shows this incredible shift.
Yeah.
From someone who could merely perceive the results of actions, the different rebirth realms.
Oh, where people ended up.
To someone who profoundly understood the cause and the cessation, the ending of rebirth itself.
That's a huge difference.
It is. And that mantra he was chasing, it wasn't some secret chant for power. It was actually the key to a rigorous spiritual path, a path to liberation, to understanding reality on the deepest level.
Right. The meditation on the body parts was the real practice.
That was the real mantra, in effect.
So here's where it gets really interesting for us, maybe thinking about our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
We often chase knowledge, don't we? For external validation, maybe, or power, or money. A bit like those Brahmins trying to profit from Vaṅgīsa's gift initially.
That's a very relevant parallel.
Yeah.
We value information, data, skills that give us an edge in the world.
But Vaṅgīsa's ultimate path, it suggests something else. But the most valuable knowledge, maybe, is the kind that transforms our inner world.
The kind that frees us.
Exactly. Frees the mind.
Which raises a really important question for you listening right now. What kind of knowledge are you truly seeking? Is it just the information that describes how the external world works? Useful, yes, but... Or is it that deeper understanding? The kind that maybe liberates the mind and reveals what's beyond our usual conventional perception?
That's a great question to reflect on. Is it skull-tapping knowledge? Or is it Arahant knowledge we're after?
Metaphorically speaking, yes.
Well, we hope this deep dive into Vaṅgīsa's incredible story has given you some surprising facts, maybe a new perspective, on what it means to be truly deeply well-informed.
It's certainly given me things to think about again.
Me too.
Go.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep deep diving.